This is the second DLC I completed during my main quest playthrough. Clearly more divisive in the fanbase. Some players stating that it takes away the best things about Fallout, while others appreciate it for the Elseworld story that it is. A nice breakaway from the regular Fallout formula. But as we've seen in Fallout 3's Operation Anchorage, sometimes linearity is not a good thing for the series. And while I do enjoy escaping the wasteland from time to time, this wasn't exactly the luxurious getaway I had in mind. So does that mean it's not worth the playtime and we should skip it in favor of better DLCs? Or did the themes go over our heads and the rewards and lessons learned actually are worth the effort? Let's find out. This is the start of Dead Money has us being lured into a trap, where we awaken affixed with an explosive collar. A figure appears and compels us to do his bidding, else our head will... We're bound to a few others, which, if any one of them step out of line, we all die. But this is our introduction to the villa. Father Elijah gives us some backstory on the casino and what he intends to do with us captives. A grand heist of the Sierra Madre's casino vault.
We're not plundering Sierra Madre. We're plundering history.
The very casino that lingers in the back with an air of mystery. It's the first thing we notice as we're taking in the atmosphere. It and the surrounding buildings are tinted by the red shade of the brooding clouds. There's a faint singing at the edge of our ears of a welcoming hologram failing to convince us of comfort. Stripped bare of our weapons and items, we must make do with what we find, supplemented only by the use of casino chips input into local vending machines for supplies. But before assembling our team, the first task is obvious: assessing our threats. Because more than ever, we have to consider our approach to the obstacles. Lurking about the alleys are a new breed of danger, the ghost people. They do not speak and never sleep. Mutated construction workers initially employed to build the Sierra Madre. Imprisoned within their own suits, they chitter about, expelling and eliminating anyone and everyone. Not easily killed, they will revive if not dismembered or disintegrated, or eaten. These creatures were especially challenging to me because I wasn't spec'd for the available equipment, except for the scarcely supplied holo rifle. They're also immune to the toxic cloud, the very gases that morphed the ghosts into what they are today. We can suffer it for a bit, and there are ways to extend that duration, but if we linger too long, we'll eventually succumb to the same fate. As we make our way out of the villa and into the casino, we'll have to contend with the state-of-the-art defenses that is the holograms. Seemingly harmless at first, they're equipped with powerful beam weapons capable of disintegrating us in moments, and they can't be killed. There's fun lore attached to all these elements and their origins at Big Mountain, part of the Old World Blues DLC. It's not exactly vital information, but it adds context to the world. So, let's dissect both the DLCs in a rare 7-part multilateral musings analysis. I'll try to keep it under 2 hours, so this will be part 1, the history of Big Mountain and... The heist is straightforward. We have to initiate the grand opening to gain access to the casino, dodge the dangers, revive the systems, locate the prize, and enter the vault. But first we gather the team. Dean Domino, speaker wire holder extraordinaire.
I'll blast your ass so far through your head.
Christine, computer language interpreter. Dog and God, shattered split personality flip switcher.
Hungry.
And me, incredibly brilliant, capable, and strong orchestrator. The brains, the glue, and did I mention brilliant? Assuming our positions, the gala commences. Once inside, it seems as if the building itself is alive. We activate the power and take part in the heart of New Vegas. As we unravel the mystery of the casino, we realize the tragedy that's befallen here. And the culprit isn't exactly a person, but more of a human condition. After some betrayals, resistance, and internal conflicts, we navigate the winding halls to find the vault. As we gain entry, we're confronted by Father Elijah. He tells us that it's more than just a safe for riches, but technology. Things that will transform the wasteland as he sees fit.
The holorifle, the satellite alloy, the hologram technology. The Sierra Madre can kill nations and build them.
I use my lockpicking knowledge to convince him that I could steal the contents of the vault for myself, and he can't do it without me.
I'm coming down.
While we're waiting, we take a look at the prized possessions. Among them are gold bars.
The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my god.
Listen guys, I didn't know what to expect, okay? And I didn't have the handy perk of over-encumbered fast travel, and I didn't know there was a mail system in the wasteland, so I just picked up a few bars. Elijah believed the explosive collar gave him the upper hand. It doesn't. Alarms ringing, I flee for the exit. What was initially a simple heist rapidly turned complicated. But the true prize was never in the vault. It's not money or technology. Whatever it is, it's conveyed through the history and characters. To understand the purpose of the Sierra Madre, we need to go back to before the bombs fell. Frederick Sinclair, businessman and founder, invites his good friend and popular pre-war showman, Dean Domino, to perform at the Sierra Madre for the grand opening. Among the other invited performers is Domino's ex-lover in the Hollywood starlet Vera Keyes. Dean introduced Vera to Sinclair, who's immediately enraptured by her. Dean's in cahoots with Vera Keyes and is using her as part of his plan to break into the casino vault. However, Keyes gets cold feet, but Dean blackmails her with her past history of substance abuse and terminal illness. Sinclair uncovers Dean Domino's plot, so he transforms the casino and the vault into an inescapable trap. Vera Keyes ultimately confesses after becoming overcome with remorse, so Sinclair decides to drop the matter. But despite her treachery leaving him hollow and broken, he couldn't bear to sentence her to death, so he returned to the vault to delete the entry meant for her and replaced it with an apology, though Sinclair still intends to stick it to Domino. Ironically, due to a leak in the pipe network, he succumbed to a poison cloud, leaving the trap for Dean Domino intact. The grand opening was explosive. Met with the falling bombs, the casino locked its doors and activated its security systems. The holograms came alive and massacred the guests, confining Vera Keyes to a room. Here, she scrawls her last words. A malfunction with the emergency broadcast caused the advertisement for the casino's grand opening to be sent across the airwaves, rather than the intended rescue channel. So for 2 centuries, Vera's voice would act as bait, not the rescue Sinclair had hoped for. Instead, potential treasure hunters, lured to their deaths, urged to come to the Sierra Madre, a place where they can begin again. Enter Father Elijah, a former elder of the Brotherhood of Steel, fitting clan for him because he was obsessed with technology, except his approach was toward iterating and improving rather than simply preserving, a trait considered unorthodox by his peers. He marveled at the casino's automated security systems, the invulnerable holograms.
Dump one of those emitters in the middle of any battle, there's no defense.
However, the potential of these was dwarfed by a seemingly innocuous technology.
They provide almost anything. Sources of food, supplies, medical assistance, ammo, make more callers, even print currency. Make a nation.
The Brotherhood of Steel heard about his unethical experimentation, so they dispatched an assassin, Christine, who personally wants revenge against him because Elijah, as her elder, ordered her and her lover, Veronica, separated permanently, for no legitimate reason other than homophobia. So she tracks him across all the many DLC locations and large swaths of the wasteland, eventually tracked him to the Sierra Madre, where she was captured and forced to work for him. For 2 weeks, she was locked into an auto dock. It opened her and rammed down her to... Emerging a mute and claustrophobic, Christine later regains use of a voice when the medical operation is completed. It's revealed that Dean Domino was the culprit of her trappings because the elevator to the vault could only be activated by the voice of the long-dead Vera Keyes.
Begin again, but know when to let go.
Dean Domino survived the end of the world and underwent a beautification. The jewels of the Sierra Madre had become his obsession, and he would not budge. So Domino continued to plan his grand heist, unaware that Sinclair had learned of Domino's scheme and configured the vault into a trap. However, he was captured by Dog, fitted with an explosive collar, and forced to work for Father Elijah, who shared the same goal. And Dog is a subservient identity, residing in a psychologically fractured Nightkin who assists Father Elijah by catching slaves and equipping the explosive collars. He's cursed with a gluttonous, ravenous hunger. Everyone and everything that Dog chases will be crushed and mangled and twisted until he is satisfied in an act of unrestrained gluttony. He's aware that what he does is wrong, but he's powerless to stop. His alternate identity inhabiting the same mind is God. He desires more control, but isn't as physically capable as Dog.
He cuts, hurts, and tries to murder me out of him.
Dog's hunger drives him to the surface, but when that subsides, God emerges. Dog is unaware that God is a part of him that attempts to protect him, so Dog self-harms to make the voices go away.
Dog is tired of voice inside, tired of being in another cage again.
Thus, both resent the other being in control. But nevertheless, God's insistent on freeing Dog of Elijah's grasp. And lastly, the Sierra Madre itself is a character. Merely being invited to its gates was a sign of status and exclusivity. Even today, its bright lights and casting figure attracts wanderers to plunder its vaults. Hey again, sorry I couldn't finish the 7-part analysis for you. Something came up, but I'm glad you found me. We can pick up where we left off, and I have 2 more DLC videos in here with me. So if you press some buttons like that one over there, it might open the door and I can give them to you. I'll just, Begin again. The characters do a great job of embodying the themes. And if you haven't figured it out by now, despite the writing on the wall, it's greed, not letting go, not moving on, to begin again. This theme is everywhere we look. The characters that are each here as consequences of their desires, actions that aren't necessarily character-driven in the traditional sense, but as pure representations of consequence. They each must reconcile something within them or meet their end.
I'd rather die in this cell than have Dog follow him any longer.
Elijah must let go of his desire to transform and rule the wasteland, else he is forced to confront us. Dog must let go of his voracious hunger and addiction. God must relinquish total control.
You think your pull is stronger than mine? No.
Dean is still obsessively scheming his way into a trap.
I waited an entire lifetime, sitting in that villa, watching it all fall apart.
Christine is so filled with vengeance and is so close to getting it that it clouds her judgment. Each time she gets closer, she loses something else.
I've lost him so many times. He needs to die.
This time, her voice. But next time? Even we are tested with unspeakable wealth, as the vault is self-destructing. And the Sierra Madre itself still clings to the now, to life, refusing to return to the past, where it belongs. So what does this all mean? Well, there's not much to it. The consequences of refusing to let go can be the source of our misfortune. But why can't we let go? The answer could be from a number of different reasons. Rage, lust, greed, fear, hunger, addiction. The characters' primary flaws are what has driven them here to the Sierra Madre, the counterpoint to moving on, the literal manifestation of stagnation. Everyone believes that the solution to their woes are within this vault, a fixed distraction which serves as a smokescreen to their true natures. And whether we've fallen for the Sierra Madre's deception or not, it still remains as the lingering inclination in the background, the back of our minds, boding us to capitulate, to seek the riches within. There's a reason it's shrouded in red, with a promise of fulfillment barred behind vault doors. It's a facade, because to enter them is to submit to temptation. It's not fulfillment on the other side, it's defeat, succumbing to the desires that warp us, unrecognizably, from ourselves. Begin again tonight. Dead Money has a way of testing us in a similar vein, by ushering the players into experiencing the character's struggles personally. We were stripped of our possessions, beginning anew with only the tools and unique currency within the resort. The vault itself can pique our curiosity as we investigate the trap intended for Domino. Perhaps we're too tempted by the drama or the temptation of gold. Admittedly, there are ways to prevent having to let go of the prize. The core concept being that you are presented with overwhelming treasures, but you must know when to move on in order to survive. I've heard of players successfully looting all the gold bars from the vault and walking them out, but I'm not sure how it's done. Because I don't submit to the allure of the social vices like these other commoners. I'm above it all. I can resist all temptation. I'm just that strong-willed and handsome, the pinnacle of human evolution. The themes also test us with the characters we befriend, as well as fight. I was forced to kill Dean Domino because he couldn't get over his greed.
Kill me, I still win.
I convinced Christine to move on from her senseless pursuit.
Never mind.
For Dog and God, I convinced both sides to coalesce into one being, for the betterment of both.
I feel as if I've woken up.
Elijah's greed gets him the villa's ghosts forever stalk about as Husk, whom will never leave. And I felt these were all fair and logical endings, except for Dog and God. I'm not sure the most moral answer here. Let me know your take in the comments of what you think is best for them. But we can't become too attached to them either, because we'll have to let them go as we depart the Sierra Madre. The lesson is that regardless of how we've dictated our story, the themes reinforce that there is no shortage of consequence. So we should be mindful with how hard we're clutching our cards, because it might just be the losing hand. There are two sides to Dead Money. There's the story and the mechanics. On the story and lore side, I think there's great things to say, and I think they're said well. It speaks of greed, love, and lust. The characters in the lore, just as it did in Honest Hearts, does all the heavy lifting here. And the Sierra Madre itself, being a casino, not only fits with the subject of New Vegas, but as a center point of vices that people often succumb to, promising riches with a small gamble, providing instant gratification or ruin. On the flip side, based on the mechanics of it, I cannot recommend. The new take on the resource management that is the vending machines forces a more controlled experience as we shamble about the villa. The fumes directing us through the gassed corridors and tiptoeing around the holograms and seeking but not finding the random beeping of death wasn't doing it for me. The hologram defense systems and radio signals force us to pay extra attention to the details of the dull, flat, maze-like corridors. And the more we're shepherded through them, the more stale it becomes. It differs from my first DLC playthrough in that we're not given the normal player freedom to explore this new area. Normally I enjoy the dreary atmosphere and oppressive environments, but they still require variety. A great example of reusing space is Fallout 3's The Pit. We found ourselves confined to similar routes, but clever use of verticality allowed us to cover the same ground in different ways. For linear gameplay design to work, the story needs to be strong enough to drive player engagement, which is why the Operation Anchorage comparison I dropped earlier applies. Without question, Dead Money has better storytelling, and I wouldn't change a single thing. But regarding level design, it's just as tiresome. The fix for this is simple: replayability, having alternate means of tackling the same environments. Like venting different streets and section off access to content based on dialogue decisions or mechanics and mechanical skills. As it stands, there's no variation in level design, and it suffers for it. To me, it means that if you've played it before and you've discovered the story of Dead Money at least once, it's enough. I really do enjoy the themes and the story and the lore, but I hated playing it. And I'm affording leniency because it is a first-time playthrough. But I dread the thought of revisiting it in the future. Maybe there's a point there, which is compelling, that they managed to use us as a part of the story. That if you do decide to go back and suffer the ghastly figures, the oppressive atmosphere, and the potential for death at every turn, all for the gold, then you've also succumbed to the allure of the theme, and you too have been played by the hand of the Sierra Madre.
They all wanted their freedom at first. Then, they couldn't let go, just like the old man.